where you are told continuously the good things we have done, you will see them soon, and you go from weeks to months to years, and you don't see that good coming, then you know that what you are being told is a narrative that's not based on any reality. And that's why Nigerians today are very upset and are very angry, because they are being deceived regularly and systematically by a government that feels, oh, we can tell stories, we will survive, we'll refuse to do what we need to do, and we'll survive because we'll tell stories that will cover up our non-deeds or our bad deeds. And at some point, Nigerians have to say, no, you can't continue to tell us stories.
Exactly. That is the problem, because Nigerians have woken up and they said enough is enough. They can no longer have patience anymore. Because since ever Tinubu entered into office, Tinubu have been telling us to have patience, to tighten our belts. Why these people, we are busy robbing us corruption on our faces, my people. Yes, even today, Tinubu came out and he was begging Nigerians to continue having patience. Like how long? How long is Nigerians going to hold on, my people? There is hunger in the land. People are suffering. Like how long? When are we going to see the effect of all these policies Tinubu have been telling us, my people? Is it when all Nigerians spy? Eh? So this is the reason why Professor Ibrahim Jibrin came out and said Tinubu the bitter truth. Because you cannot continue deceiving people and you thought that Nigerians, they are not wise. I hope you guys noticed that since 2 weeks now, we have not heard that federal government, they want to borrow so amount of money, they're going to sign to borrow this and that. Just because of this protest, my people, despite that Tinubu has not addressed this protest, protest is bringing good results. Yes, my people, because this one don't shake them. They have realized that Nigerians, they are not joking. It will take them time for them to come and be telling us they budgeted social amount for jets, they budgeted social amount of this and that. They're going to borrow from here, they're going to borrow from this. This protest don't teach them lesson that Nigerians have seen everything that is happening, that you should not take them for granted, because enough is enough. So my people, let's listen to Professor Ibrahim Jibrin and hear what he have to say concerning this Tinubu government. He was among those that fought for this democracy. Let's hear from him to, compare during the military regime and now, which one is better. Because right now, people are saying that it is better that the military take over the power. But my people, when you look at the kind of people we have in military today, it is no-go area. It's better we continue managing this Tinubu. Until next time, Nigerians, they will be more wiser and then vote right people in power.
Professor Ibrahim Jibrin is one of the elder statesmen and eminent Nigerians who have put forward this piece, Nigeria at a Crossroad. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
How bad is the situation that we are in as a people? Because reading through the piece, I saw the depth of the analysis. It's quite a long read for a short piece, and you will wonder, it must have been something that you and your friends have been looking and thinking about for a while now. But for you to come out at this time, what prompted it, and how bad are the things that we are, the situation we are in today?
We came out at this time because we're alarmed. We are alarmed. Governance is collapsing completely in this country. We are alarmed because there's a complete breakdown of public trust between citizens and the government. And that we use the word crossroad to indicate that at this point, it's either government sits up and starts putting policies that work, or the country itself would crumble. And that's why we feel that we need to review what has been happening over the past, get out of the present conjuncture, and look at the process in depth with a focus of what can be done to address these issues so that we will begin to move the country forward. The risk at this time is extremely high, and we need drastic action. And that action has to be in terms of actually implementing policies. The key thing we point out is that policy is a set of action that addresses a problem, that solves a problem. When you articulate policies and that problem remains unsolved and actually worsens, it means you are not implementing any policy. That is, you are saying one thing and doing exactly the opposite, and that's why there's no forward movement in the country.
You made reference to the last 25 years, so you're not specifically talking about the Bola Tinubu government. You're talking about the promises which brought about the civilian rule in this country. The reasons why military take over power in this country and the excuses is almost they are using the same script whenever the military come into power. They will say they want to fight corruption and correct the ills and the corruption that the civilian government has left. But 25 years down the line, what you have described in your piece looks like a backwardness rather than progress. How bad, I mean, you were one of those who were at the vanguard, you know, when we crossed the Rubicon, when we crossed from a military era into a civilian route in 1999. Are you disappointed at where we are today, considering the hopes and aspirations of the average Nigerian as a then, at least a young adult who thought that we are entering into a future or a future that brings a hopeful one for Nigeria at that time?
All the 12 of us who wrote this piece were very active participants in the struggle to end military rule. We were on the barricades, we engaged the process, we were consistent, and we achieved results. The promise we made to Nigerians when we were fighting military rule is that when we have a return to democracy, there's going to be a profound change in which public resources will be used for the public good. Today, 25 years down the line, we look back and we saw that the promise we made have not been realized because those who have been in successive governments since 1999 have not kept to the promise of using public resources to pursue the public good. What they have done is to use public resources for their personal aggrandizement. The corruption that we have today is nowhere near what we had previously. In addition, because there's an abandonment of policy implementation on all sectors of the society, you have on the one hand the economy collapsing completely, and the corollary to that has been the massive growth of insecurity as more and more Nigerians realize this ruling class is not going to do anything for them, and self-help becomes the new ideology. When we are told today that millions of Nigerian youth have procured arms, it is telling you something, that this society has realized that the ruling class we have is extremely irresponsible and has not focused on the development of the society.
So Prof, the political system in Nigeria has failed.
It has
describe
failed
them
to deliver.
as insensitive.
Absolutely.
And one thing that you said that came out to me, you said, and I quote the words of this article, is that the tragedy of the last 1 year is that we now have a regime that has not only doubled our troubles, but has shown neither empathy, prudence, nor competence in governance. That is a summary of the Bola Tinubu of the last 1 year and his administration. Is that the position of the group?
Absolutely, because governments are judged by their acts of commission and by their acts of omission. Specific policies were put in place that have been extremely disastrous for the economy and for the people surviving within that economy. And those positive policies that were promised, the palliatives, for example, the Nigerian poor have never, ever seen that palliatives. We know, we are told on a daily basis that billions and billions have been given to state governments and to federal ministries to address the problems of the poor. But those of us in contact with the poor, we have never met any poor Nigerian that had ever benefited from what is being said. In that case, what is happening is that the government in this country is telling stories that are not based on any reality, and that's why citizens are exasperated, because they don't see a relationship between what is said by government and what's happening in their daily lives.
You criticize the major decisions of the Bola Tinubu government, and you've related it, you've linked it with the problems of food inflation, food shortages, insecurity, and corruption. And in fact, you are saying that the lifestyle of government officials are anything but underwhelming. And you have said in that article, you said the withdrawal of petroleum subsidy without any plans to cushion the effect has sent prices through the roof. The floating of the naira and the IMF has sent the naira crushing, causing chaos in the economy and poverty in the society. The rise in taxation and electricity bills has led to closure of many businesses, and even private schools are finding it difficult to operate. The executive and the legislature, some would include the judiciary, appear to be in cohort to plunder the country to the finish. If you describe the government of the day as such, it looks to me that there is no trust that you have given this government. And this government will tell you that, look, what we have done is in tandem with the yearnings of a lot of Nigerians, experts who have said, this is the way to go. Remove subsidy, float the naira, crush the multiple exchange windows. And this is what they say they have done. The government of the day will say, wait for us a moment, that some of the actions and policies of our government will start yielding results. It's just a matter of time. Is it that you and your friends are impatient with this government to see the result, or what exactly is going on?
Nigerians have a memory. Remember when they did this fuel price removal of subsidy? They said in weeks we'll have LNG buses and the prices of transport will crash. That was 13 months ago that they said that. And Nigerians know they haven't seen those things. This idea is called waiting for Godot in world literature, where you are told continuously the good things we have done, you will see them soon. And you go from weeks to months to years and you don't see that good coming. Then you know that what you are being told is a narrative that's not based on any reality. And that's why Nigerians today are very upset and are very angry, because they are being deceived regularly and systematically by a government that feels, oh, we can tell stories, we will survive, we'll refuse to do what we need to do, and we'll survive because we'll tell stories that will cover up our non-deeds or our bad deeds. And at some point, Nigerians have to say, no, you can't continue to tell us stories.
Well, have you written the Tinubu government off? It's just 1 year and 2 months in office.
Well, you see, if in 14 months you are unable to show progress, then we don't see how that progress will come in 4 years. Because progress has to start immediately, because the crisis is serious, and it has to be incremental.
So 14 out of 48 months that they asked, that they were voted for, you think that 14 months is fundamental, is basic, is a foundational period that we should start seeing results? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. That if by now we haven't started seeing results, it means those results are not on the way.
So you've written this government off. You don't think anything fruitful can come in the next 4 years?
No. We are telling this government that you can't continue by giving false narratives. You have to actually start putting sets of policies in place that will address the issue. Let me explain something, for example, that's very straightforward to you. There's this story that we've been giving billions and billions to state governments to use for palliatives and to address the food problems in their states. And it's true, those monies are given to state governments. What happens to this money? That's the question you have to answer. Everybody in this country knows what happens. It goes to the governor takes it and then distributes it to local governments. Local governments gives this to wards, but who does it get to at the federal, state, local government and ward levels? It goes to the party barons who are in power, and they therefore corner all these resources that are coming in and refuse to distribute it to those who are actually in need. And everybody knows that this money, these resources, these grains that are distributed never gets to those in need. It goes to those who are already enjoying vast salaries, vast allowances, and then they take these palliatives and add to their wealth and accumulation. So that's the story. Since no government in this country can pretend it doesn't know that's what's happening, you can't continue doing the same thing and expect you get a different result.
Yeah,
that's the point we are saying.
Prof,
so the policy of government in terms of these palliatives is to make sure the poor never gets it.
As direct and as punchy as your criticism of this government is, compared to other citizens who criticize this government that never come up with solutions, you have proffered some solutions. And I love the fact that you put your solution in three strata: the economy, security, and corruption. Time may not permit us to be able to touch on all of this, but at least we can show our viewers what the solutions that you're proffering. First, in the state of the economy, you were talking about the revitalized social safety net program to capture and deliver to the most vulnerable. If you can summarize the thought of your group on the way to go for this economy, just in about a minute, so that we can move to the next and up to the next one too.
Yeah, the point we are saying is this question of providing for the poor. Everybody knows where the poor are in this country, and everybody can identify them. Why is it that you only distribute to politically exposed individuals, knowing fully well those politically exposed individuals who feel they are entitled to gather all the resources of societies for their own family needs and aggrandizement? By so doing, you are making sure that you deepen the gulf between the ordinary people who are in real trouble and the political class that has completely lost touch with the reality of what's happening in their own society. And what we are saying is this: the social distance between government and the people in this country has become extremely wide, and there's a certain callousness, wickedness of people in government who don't appear to be worried at all about the hunger in the land. I mean, one of the issues people encounter in this country on a daily basis is that when they fall sick and they see medical personnel, they are given a prescription, they can't buy the drugs. And every day, people are dying in this country because they are sick. Their sickness is curable, but they don't have the money to buy the drugs. People are beginning to starve in this country. And what does government say? Oh, some political enemies are mobilizing them to agitate. So what government is saying, people are starving, they should starve quietly and not make noise so that nobody will hear that they are starving till they die. And people are now saying, no, for heaven's sake, we are not going to starve to death silently. We are going to scream. We are going to make the point that we voted for government to address our problems, and they are not addressing their problems, and they are letting us waste in this society.
So you are advocating for more inclusion, money to get right to the grassroots, to succor for the average person. In the area of security, I see that you are asking or preferring solution in the way of establishment of a National Security Coordination Center. You are also asking for an establishment of a National Peace Building and Reconciliation Commission. Some of the solutions that you are proffering in the security aspect are more of people-oriented psychological effort. Why? Do you think that we do not need the guns and the bullets?
For example, in this country, security has been collapsing for over 2 decades. We have an Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution in the country. That institute is located under the rubrics of the Foreign Ministry. The Foreign Ministry has no mandate for internal security. So this institute has been idle for the last 25 years because 25 years ago a mistake was made and they were put in the wrong ministry. And that's why we're saying it's a collective responsibility of successive governments, because it was Obasanjo who started that institute and put it in the wrong ministry. And now 25 years later is still in the wrong ministry. It means nobody in government is actually looking at their agencies and saying, how do we use this agency to address problems that are actually happening in society?
And that's why we are saying is available.
Yeah, and that's what we are saying is policy is not just saying you have written things on paper. It's also looking to see how it will work. So if this institute hasn't worked for this period, over almost 25 years, then you should do what you need to do to make it to work.
Prof, we are totally out of time, but the corruption area, you're asking for a creation of Operation Clean Sweep, that they should launch a high-profile, rigorous anti-corruption campaign against prominent Nigerians, especially political expert persons. I'd like you to wrap up in just 30 seconds on that effort. Will it work? Have we not been seeing this kind of thing before?
Well, it has not worked. And what we are saying is that the reason it has not worked is that the center of corruption is government. And therefore, these people in government decide, we are not going to deal with corrupt people because we are the ones. And I'm saying, and we are saying, that no, you have to change that attitude, because everybody now knows that's what government is doing, and that it's because of this level of corruption that we are paying the price of hunger and misery and ill health in this country. And that if we don't start seeing people in government held accountable for their acts of corruption, there is no really will on the part of government to move the country forward.
Thank you so much, Professor Ibrahim Jibrin, who is a governance and democracy advocate and a scholar. Is one of the eminent Nigerians who came together and who brought up this document, Nigeria at a Crossroad, and proffering solutions, some of which we showed you on the screen tonight. Thank you so much indeed for your time. And we wish our nation the very best. My regards to you and your colleagues too.
Thank you.
Welcome to Jammercy News TV.